Welcome along to this continuation of our video mini-series where we are taking you on a virtual tour of the NRLA and visiting all their different departments, and we're calling it Getting to Know the NRLA Week. And for this instalment we are visiting the Training and Accreditation Department, and I'm joined by Kitty Ellison. So welcome along, Kitty. Now you've got a very important department at the NRLA, because one of the key objectives of the NRLA is to raise standards within the sector. So better landlords means a better experience of the PRS in terms of how tenants experience it. So tell us a little bit about the department and the training that you offer.
Okay. Yeah, sure. So we offer roughly around 40 topics. That changes on a regular basis because sometimes, we find we don't need a particular course, but then of course when there's new legislation, we will introduce new courses based on what landlords and letting agents need, really. So we deliver in a variety of ways, and that is to make it as flexible as possible for people, really. So we deliver via the classroom. Now, of course, that's always been our sort of bread and butter, face-to-face in a venue with an expert trainer. But unfortunately, due to COVID, we did have to put those on hold. We are in the process of relaunching those, and we do think there's quite a good appetite. We've had many people contacting us, desperate to know when we're going to get back to classroom, and I know that the trainers are really keen to get back doing what they love. I know they much prefer the sort of live face-to-face delivery. But in a direct response to COVID, of course, we did put on some e-classroom courses. So within a couple of weeks of us going into lockdown, we rescheduled the whole programme of courses and delivered them virtually. So we started that right back at the start of lockdown, and it's gone so well that we are planning on continuing that. It is something that we'd actually explored prior to COVID anyway, so it kind of was a good opportunity to really give that a good go. We weren't sure what appetite would be like for that. But we found that people have really enjoyed the e-classroom courses and got a lot out of them. And obviously people just find them really flexible. They can do them from the comfort of their own home. They're getting delivered the same material that they would in the classroom by the same trainer. We try to make them as interactive as possible, so they can still ask questions via either the chat box, which actually some people prefer, or they can do it verbally, just as we're chatting now. So e-classroom will continue despite us getting back to classroom. So I think that's a really good opportunity for landlords to be able to undertake their learning in a different way. E-learning is something we've done for quite a number of years. So e-learning is slightly different in terms of the fact that it's remote self-study. So there's no direct trainer involvement there. So the courses are written in a way that delegates can digest that information by themselves. So we aim to make those as interactive as possible. Obviously, the interaction is very different because there's no trainer there. But we make them interactive in terms of activities added in there, and things to check their knowledge, to make sure that they've been fully engaged and they're understanding it adequately. Of course, e-learning has grown even more since COVID, because people have, sometimes been forced to do learning that way, but actually discovered it's not as scary as it sounds, and people have really enjoyed it. We have a lot of courses that you can do via e-learning that we would do in the classroom or e-classroom, but we also are able to run more bite-sized courses on e-learning as well, which may be more challenging, particularly in the classroom. Getting a venue for a short period of time can be challenging. So it's a good way to do smaller bite-sized learning, really. And with the e-learning, they can kind of do it as and when they like. So a course may take up to 5 hours, but they can do an hour here and there, however they like, really, and they can revisit it, and you get 12 months access. Something that I should mention with e-classroom, actually, just going back to that, is that they do receive a recording of the course as well. So that's another sort of added value of doing learning electronically. So that's how we sort of deliver courses. We've got various kind of categories that we group courses into. So core courses are essentially a course that takes a landlord through the entire lettings process. So it tells the landlord all the legislation that they must follow. And the reason we have these core courses is, for one, they're brilliant for brand new landlords who need to learn what they need to do, but they're also a really good update course as well for landlords that have maybe been in the sector quite a while. But, you know, it is quite difficult to keep up with this legislation. And by doing training, you are investing in your knowledge, but it can be a more concise way of digesting information that, you know, you may otherwise have to go and research on the web or read multiple news articles and things like that. So it can be a sort of quicker way in some respects of actually getting that knowledge. So the core courses also allow our members to be accredited with us. I'll come on to accreditation later, but that is a requirement of accreditation. And then we've got safety and hazard courses, so that'll involve things like electrical courses and general property standards and repairs. We've got compliance courses, so that's looking at areas in more detail than perhaps the core courses would. So things like how to end a tenancy. Of course, in the core courses, we explain how to do that and what legislation needs to be followed. But if some landlords feel like they need more in-depth information on a particular topic, we've got that there. We have tax and finance courses, so your usual capital gains tax, inheritance tax, but we also have a couple of options for investment landlords as well, which are really popular. And then we have a couple of qualifications, which we do find landlords undertake these, but they are aimed at agents. So they are a level 3 qualification. We've got two slight variations. We've got an award and a certificate. The certificate has one extra unit, and it would just depend on the job role and what learning they want to undertake. But they are nationally recognised qualifications, you know, good for CVs and things like that.
Fantastic. And that means that the landlord, when they've been accredited, they can put that into their adverts for tenants. They can put it in their correspondence to prospective and existing tenants. And it just really shows that the landlord has kind of voluntarily committed to professional standards, doesn't it?
It's a way of sort of recording continuous professional development. They receive certificates to say what it is that they've done. We have the point system of CPD. So essentially 1 point equates to an hour of learning. So if members want to record that, they can. Most of it's automated when it's an NRLA activity. But it is a way of sort of reassuring tenants that, you know, they are keeping themselves up to date, but they can actually demonstrate that knowledge. You know, it's not just a case of, you know, maybe sort of listening to podcasts and things like that. They can actually show, you know, that they have sat an assessment and things like that. So yeah, it's a really good way of reassuring tenants, but also the local authorities, because, you know, occasionally local authorities will impose licensing or mandatory training, and our aim is, while we don't support licensing, is to support landlords through that journey if required by delivering the training that's needed. And of course, members get a discount if you are a member with the NRLA, so they receive 20% off the price for training. We had over 7,000 landlords complete training with us last year, and it's growing each year, because I think people do realise the sort of value in it. Yeah, as I said, you are investing in something, but, you know, it is a sort of quite easy way of digesting an entire topic without having to go away and research it yourself and check that your material's accurate.
Well, everything about education boils down to risk mitigation, doesn't it? Because there are so many risks and pitfalls of being a landlord, and training puts you into prevention mode, which is a lot less heartache, a lot less financial expense than if you have a problem that you then have to cure, because that can get really expensive and really anxiety inducing if you've got a bad tenant or something like that. So I think training is and education is so vital. And I just want to highlight the accreditation again, because if we compare that to some of the other so-called property training that's prevalent on the social web, that's doesn't offer any accreditation at all. It's got no official recognition. And that kind of training can cost thousands of pounds, whereas the NLRA, well, most training courses, you know, around the £100 mark, if that. So it's very good value for money, in my opinion.
Absolutely, yeah. I think our cheapest course for members is about £16. So we do try and keep it as affordable as possible. We do realise that it is an investment, and we're very grateful to the landlords that want to undertake training. But as you say, actually doing the training itself can improve the knowledge. But one of the good things about training, which you may not get from researching in other methods, is the fact that it does check your knowledge. So we're making sure that trainers check that the delegates have understood. Even with the e-learning, we have little mini quizzes throughout, just to check that you have digested that information and you've been fully engaged in it. And as you mentioned, it can very much help to avoid costly fines and disputes with tenants and things like that. So it is good value for money in terms of what it can actually provide a landlord with, definitely.
I think one of the other differences that I see between what the NRLA offer and what you might get via a kind of social media property trainer is that the NRLA, all of your material is structured, and you get the assets to go with it to help you, carry on with the training and support you. And you also get trainers who very often are landlords themselves and have been for many, many years. So they are speaking from a position of experience.
Yeah, absolutely. All our trainers are vetted in terms of their sort of knowledge and experience. And as you say, many are landlords or an expert in their own field, for example, tax or fire. So yeah, we always make sure that it is an expert delivering the information. But there's a couple of us on the team that do come from a teaching background, because I think that's really important. To make sure that the courses delivering the content, but delivering it in a structured, as you mentioned, way. So we ensure that there's good objectives and learning outcomes for each of the courses, and we make sure we review that all the time to constantly improve it, really. Something we are working on at the moment is making the courses more accessible for people with neurodivergencies. So at the moment, we will try and tailor a course if somebody's got something like dyslexia or autism, but we are working on improving that so that it's more accessible for all, and as across the different methods, that's really important to make sure that each delivery method does cover that, and also different learning styles. It's about making sure that landlords are actually getting a lot out of it and getting the knowledge that they need. And we do get excellent feedback that people maybe not necessarily didn't realize sort of how valuable a training course was, but by the end of it, I think they've got a lot more out of it than they might do by trying to get that information elsewhere.
No, that's brilliant. Well, what I've taken away from this, Kitty, is that the NRLA supports landlords across the entire landlord life cycle with their training. Even if you're just a brand new newbie starting out, you can go into the core course material, and then there's more advanced type of training for those that are further along their property journey, and also obviously the important things like tax and finance, absolutely the pillars of being a successful landlord. So thank you very much for those insights. And anybody wishing to find out more about NRLA training, they can head across to the website. There's a whole section, isn't there, where you can book the courses and so on.
Absolutely, yeah. It's all laid out on there for you. So if you just go to the training section, you'll also find accreditation under there, which is available to members only. So if you wanted to become accredited, you can find out more information about how to do that. And we have all the course categories, so it's easy to kind of find exactly what it is you're wanting and what you need.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much, Kitty. For those watching this, remember, this is a mini series which we are running. There's a playlist where you can catch up with the other episodes. And we're also kind of doing it in tandem with celebration of the relaunch of the NRLA YouTube channel. And we do invite you to subscribe and also hit the notifications bell, and then you'll be notified of when there's new content, and there's going to be loads more content coming on the NRLA YouTube channel over the coming months. So stay tuned. Thank you to Kitty for now, and I will see you on the next instalment of Getting to Know the NRLA.